Hello, welcome to this AV-LAN home cinema receiver product shootout. We're going to talk to you about the different features of these AV receivers and how they stack up against each other, and ultimately which ones we think are best. The receivers are the Pioneer VSX-922, the Denon AVR-2113 and the Onkyo TX-NR616. Starting off here with the Onkyo. This is the only one of the different receivers that's THX rated, but it's also the one that lacks Apple AirPlay in the different ones. Although Onkyo have now launched a new application for the iPhone that allows you to do a very similar thing to AirPlay and stream from your mobile phone wirelessly music, but without actually using Apple AirPlay. Inside here you can see they've got very large heat sinks. It has a very large fan on top to cool it down if it gets hot, although that only comes on at high volumes. It's not on, you can't hear it when it's quiet. That's the power supply there inside the Onkyo 616. Now the front panel is plastic, but it's overlaid with some very thin aluminium foil. So it gives the appearance of being aluminium. Now the Pioneer. This one has got Apple AirPlay on. It's also got the ability to charge something like an iPad at the front. And it also, all three of these have the ability to be controlled by an iPad or iPod Touch or iPhone. It's plastic fronted. It does feel the cheapest one. It is the cheapest one out of the three, but it has a sort of plasticky feel. The actual casing at work of it feels the less sturdy, the least sturdy of the three of them. Power wise, the Pioneer here, it claims to be 105 watts per channel. The Onkyo, I can't believe it, it says it's 160 watts. From our kind of testing, they all seem fairly the same, and they are very similar price range, all these different three. The Pioneer though is the cheapest one. Inside, it seems to have not so good quality circuit boards. I don't know, it just doesn't seem to be the same high quality components that are in the Onkyo. But that said, it's still very good for the money. There's a lot in it, so you're getting a lot for your money, and it is a bit cheaper than the Onkyo. So you pay, you get what you pay for, really. That board there is the main sort of HDMI board where all the connections go in. It's also where all the decoding's done inside the Pioneer. Now onto the Denon AVR-2113. This one also has AirPlay the same as the Pioneer. They've made a lot of improvements on this year's model, the Denon have. The sound quality from this is significantly better than last year's. And when we were doing our tests for this shootout, we thought that the Denon actually, for music, was the best out of all three. The Onkyo is very close though, but the Pioneer not as good. The Pioneer, for both home cinema and music, we thought was the weakest product of the three. The Denon and the Onkyo very close, with some different speaker combinations. Too close to call the Onkyo was better, with others the Denon was better. So it's very difficult to make a decision between the two. It really goes down to sort of build quality and features, and I think that the Onkyo just pips the Denon to the post on that. But saying that, you look at the build quality here as well. Inside, better quality components, big transformer. On the back panel, this is the Onkyo, and this has the most HDMI inputs. This has 8 in total, and twin outputs. It's the only one that has twin output HDMIs. Here's the back of the Denon. This one has 5 HDMIs on the back, and then it also has a HDMI input on the front, as does the Onkyo. The Pioneer, this one's got 6 on the back, only 1 output, no inputs on the front for HDMI at all. These are the different apps, the Onkyo and the Pioneer one. At the time that we made this, we didn't have access to the Denon one, Android app. They're very similar, both these apps, to the Apple app. They're virtually identical. You see on the left, that's the Onkyo 616, and on the right is the Pioneer 922's application. Now, the Pioneer one looks really, really good. It's really sort of gadgety, but it's not very functional. The Onkyo is more functional, easy to use, which ultimately we think is the most important thing. You want to be able to use things quickly, get to what you want to do. Onkyo definitely wins there against the Pioneer. However, it could be better. You know, it's not perfect. They could utilise, you know, more of the screen area, especially if you're using a tablet rather than using a phone. Onto the menus. This is the Onkyo's menu. We personally think that this is the best one. It's the easiest to set up. It seems the most logically laid out. It's got the most, we think, different settings to change, so you can really, you know, drill it down and change what you want. We'd say the Denon's probably next, and then last is the Pioneer. The Pioneer relies very heavily on its auto setup routine, and it seems to be the most clumsy to get around. Yeah, this is the Onkyo one. You can see a quick little demonstration here of all the different things. Like here's where you change assign the different HDMI inputs to the ones on the back, and of course it's got the most HDMI inputs, having 8 of them, and twin outs, so you can have a projector and a television wired up to it at the same time. This is its DLNA settings. This is how you browse the network and you play music. Again, pretty neat. You know, we thought it was pretty good. Now this is the Pioneer setup menu. It looks better, I suppose, but it seems to be, as with our application, the least functional, the least friendly to use. But it's not totally impossible. It's just it could be more logically laid out. It seems to be as well that they've gone for looks. You know, they've gone for, you know, the aesthetics of it over the actual functionality. Which, you know, when you initially see it, you might think, wow, that's really good, but when you have to actually get to grips with it and use it, not as good. You know, not as easy to use. That's where you set it, the network settings on the Pioneer, but you get the general idea. You know, they've gone for something that looks good, but you have to sort of go through numerous menus to get to what you want to get to, and they're not always obvious where they are. And you know, we'd prefer if it was more logically laid out. Onto the Denon's menu. It has a variety of different types of things. It has some that are on screen, some that are overlaid. Again, not as good as the Onkyo's menu, but not as bad as the Pioneer's. Here's where you can see where it overlays things over the top of some video, so you can see what you're adjusting or see what's going on while you're doing it. But here's also the networking streaming. You can go in, you can select your DLNA server and browse music using that. Now, as for playing different types of audio, the Denon only does up to 96 kilohertz across the networking and off a USB stick, whereas the Pioneer and the Onkyo both do 192 kilohertz 24-bit. So that's the downside of the Denon, is it only does 96 kilohertz. Now, onto the pros and cons. The Pioneer, unfortunately, it doesn't have a lot going for it in comparison to the other two. Its build quality isn't as good. Its raw sound quality isn't as good. Its setup menus aren't as good, and its app isn't as good. That said, it's still a great receiver for the money. It's the cheapest one here, so you know it's the most affordable. The Denon, excellent sound quality in stereo, and with the right speaker setup, probably better than the Onkyo. Onkyo wins on features. It wins on sound quality as well. It has all of these things going for it. But you know, it's the most expensive of the three. But if it was my money, I would go for the Onkyo because its sound quality isn't that far off the Denon, and it has the features. It has things like the twin HDMI outputs. It has Android and Apple apps. It seems to be the most all-round receiver. It's the best, does the best job, and you can't go wrong with that or the Denon really. But the Pioneer, we'd have to say, is a no-go. Go with the Onkyo, go with the Denon. Those are the two ones to audition, and those are the two ones to buy. That's the end of our product shootout for these home cinema receivers. If you've enjoyed watching this or would like to see the full reviews we have of each of these receivers, please visit our website, avland.co.uk. Thank you very much.